everyone, and welcome to this 12th edition of Sound Bites. My name is Stephen Reagan, and I am the Principal Privacy Consultant and Subject Matter Expert on Privacy and Data Protection Laws at Rangu. With these Sound Bites, I like to give just a little update of what's going on in the privacy and data protection world. And in particular, today I want to talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I want to touch briefly on the proposed AI Act and the categorizations of AI systems under that piece of regulation. And then from there, I want to also discuss compliance with the GDPR. So for organizations using innovative technologies, if you are processing personal information, you also have to comply with the General Data Protection Regulation. And then from there, I will turn to looking at a potential solution for some of these business challenges, in particular focusing on synthetic data and some possible use cases. So to begin with the AI Act, this proposed regulation, there is no timeline. It's currently in a consultation period, but nonetheless, it's important for organizations to at least have an idea of how the regulation will work in mind. So under the proposal, AI systems will be classified into between 3 and 4 tiers, looking at the risks associated with the artificial intelligence. So the first tier are AI systems that are considered an unacceptable risk. And those include manipulative or exploitative systems that cause harm, real-time biometric identification systems used in public spaces for law enforcement purposes, and all forms of social scoring. So these types of uses of artificial intelligence will be banned outright. The second tier are high-risk AI systems. And these types of systems will have really significant consequences on people's lives. So take, for instance, the evaluation of an individual's creditworthiness, or types of technologies that assist with recruiting and managing employees. So looking at employee performance, or AI systems that use and aggregate sensitive information. So these types of systems will likely have to be registered with an EU database, and will also require a risk assessment and an assessment of outputs that the technology and that the systems result in before those types of technologies can be put on the market. The proposal also suggests that these systems will be subject to human oversight, transparency, cybersecurity, risk management, data quality, monitoring, and reporting obligations. Organizations, again, will need to conduct a conformity assessment, analyzing data sets, biases, and how users interact with those systems. Finally, the lowest tier will be the largest classification of AI systems, and those are limited and minimal risk AI systems. So, take, for example, spam filters or chatbots. And these types of technologies will also be subject to transparency obligations. And this is all trying to give individuals, some sense of agency and control over their actions and how information is used about them in the technological space. So like the GDPR, the proposal for artificial intelligence, the regulation of AI, would have an extraterritorial reach, meaning any AI system providing output in the EU, regardless of where the provider is located, would be subject to the law. And the proposed penalties are also in a tiered system, with non-compliance for major violations penalized up to 30 million euros or 6% of global revenue. So we see the proposed penalties for violations, the most serious violations of AI systems, will have higher penalties than under the GDPR. And from there, we have 20 million for less serious violations, penalized up to 20 million euros or 4% of global revenue. And enforcement will still be placed with the supervisory authorities in the member states, putting a further obligation on potentially already taxed supervisory authorities. So we will see how funding plays out, whether or not supervisory authorities get more resources in order to fulfill, another obligation under another law. So again, when will the regulation or the proposed act go into effect? Again, there's no way to know for sure. Again, regardless of the timeline, organizations using AI systems, got a little commentary in the back from my son, and he's saying that organizations using AI systems that process personal information, just another reminder that those organizations are already subject to compliance with the GDPR. So what should organizations be doing now? What should they be thinking about now? We're really drawing on some of those lessons from the GDPR. Organizations can establish risk assessments for their technologies and impose organizational and management programs. To think about creating an inventory of what AI systems your organization uses, and then classifying those based on risk, and then of course thinking about implementing mitigation measures and a system of review on a regular basis. This will serve a continuous loop for organizations to review their processes and their technologies and assess them on an ongoing basis. Really, it's important for organizations then to document the various choices they're making and the reasons for making those choices, including limitations of the technologies and levels of accuracy, tests and validation of those systems, and then conducting data audits and cleaning to make sure that data is accurate and up to date. So again, going along with some of those principles under the GDPR that I will talk about in the next segment, that can really be a guiding light for organizations seeking to use innovative and new technologies. And then of course having systems in place to mitigate risk. One of those key factors is having a bit of human oversight. So taking these steps will ensure compliance with the accountability principles under the GDPR, again, being able to demonstrate that compliance to the supervisory authorities.